Hello, hello, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Narad News. एक मिनट guys, इतना feedback क्यों आ रहा है आज? Anyways guys, welcome to another episode of Narad News and hope you guys had a great long weekend wherever you guys got one. Happy belated Easter to those who celebrate. And yeah, let's dive right into today's topic. Let me pull this up. So, here is something I found in the Wall Street Journal. The workers opting to retire instead of taking on AI. Their careers span the personal computing, internet, and smartphone waves, but some older workers see AI's arrival as the cue to exit. So, when I saw this headline, I was actually reminded of another concept that I'd come across sometime in my life. But let me pull that up for you guys. So this is the Kubler-Ross change curve, right? So these are stages of how someone accepts a big change in their life. Now, I think, needless to say, AI has been a massive change in all our lives, regardless of age group, regardless of where we are in the world, regardless of what type of job we currently do. AI has shook us all for the past few years. So, here are the steps that show up. So, you first of all is shock. ChatGPT shows up, everyone's like, oh my god, now what, right? People start using it, playing with it, get very experimental with it, controversies pop up, the big shebang that happens whenever something new shows up. I think the last time before AI, smartphones was a big one. That one comes to mind. Before that, obviously, when internet became public and everyone could start, just getting on a computer, getting on websites, start accessing the world. And I guess before that, we can think of the telephone and telegraph. It has been an endless cycle of shocks of technology that have sort of helped humanity move forward, right? Then, of course, a lot of the times there is denial associated with these simply because, oh, it's just hype. Oh, they're making it a big deal. Someone wants to do an IPO. They just want you to buy a new product, get into a new subscription. Those kind of reasons pop up, like we are seeing a lot regarding AI, right? A lot of it, some of it is true. There is exaggerations, but some of it is just, denial that, oh my God, people who are truly feeling sort of scared for what might be their careers maybe 5 years down the line. There is a little bit of disbelief in that, and I think we will have to start accepting that at some point, right? Frustration. AI hallucinates so much that I don't think it's adding value to my work. I have personally faced this, that I relied on an LLM which has been approved at my workplace to try and get some information for a deliverable I needed to submit, and it hallucinated a lot, and it was a bad day with technology for me, right? So that's, I would say, a part of the whole frustration that comes with the new technology that is still being actively developed. It hasn't seen the best of its days yet, at least in my opinion. Depression, low mood, lacking in energy. I'm not sure what type of an example to give for this, but I think what happens is right before you're about to just accept it, there is just this feeling of sadness that, whatever. No matter how hard anyone tries, it's there to stay. Same thing with the internet, same thing with the computer. A lot of roles got replaced in all the technology revolutions of the past. In fact, when the industrial revolution was happening, think about all the people who were responsible for taking mail on horsebacks. Now you have the steam engine, you can have trains that'll carry all the mail, and in a much faster way, much more protected environment of a railway coach, than a horseback. So there is that depression that, okay, this change is here, it's gonna stay, and we're just gonna have to adapt to it as best as we can. There is experiment, initial engagement with the new situation. I think this has something to do with the shock as well. I think they're sort of interrelated. I'm not sure why the experimentation bit shows up here. Please, anyone who's more knowledgeable on this, the details of this, please do leave a comment on why experimentation comes so late. I think with technology and the pace at which it's changing these days, the experimentation comes up front, especially when it comes to retail technology that's being used by everyone all the time. It's information technology for that matter, right? Then decision. So now I'm going to have to learn how to use it, or I'm going to have to decide how my life looks with this technology here to stay. And this is what today's topic is all about. We are seeing that people across a lot of age brackets are simply saying, okay, they have decided that, or they have come to terms with, this new situation, as this chart says. They are feeling more positive about their own life circumstances, and they have decided on how they're going to proceed forward, essentially, right? So if you read down this story, it talks about someone by the name of Luke Michel. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing their name wrong. This person, he's a 68-year-old, and they have lived through the internet.com boom, all the, the exponential boom in information technology. And he was expected to work for a couple of more years, What instead he ended up doing is he said, okay, I'm just going to take early retirement, right? Quoting from the article, the time and energy you have to devote to learning a whole new vocabulary and a whole new skill set, it wasn't worth it for them, right? Let me pull up something interesting. I can't show you guys all the article, guys. I mean, I think it's behind a paywall or not. I'm not sure, but let me pull this up, right? His claim is, I just want to use it for my own purposes and not someone else's. This is his views on artificial intelligence. He uses Claude to learn Spanish. I'm not sure how good or bad Claude might be at this, but he's not shunning away the technology. He has made peace with it. He has decided that, okay, I'm gonna have to live with this, but I'm gonna use it for myself rather than always be using it for someone else. Really, it isn't that he's shunning. He's learning Spanish, as I said. At this point, he's less eager to endure all the ways that technology promises to upend work, right? Something the article talks about is this chart that I want to pull up. Everyone, give me one sec. Okay, there we go. So here's this chart. It shows the labor force participation rate for ages 55 and over, and we see that it sort of peaked about 2012, 2013, and since then it's actually been falling. And a big reason for that is the economic boom that we have witnessed since 2000 after the 2008 crash. What has allowed many people to do is to become very financially stable and secure through the returns the market has provided over this past decade, right? Which has allowed people to retire earlier, and in the face of AI, just say, okay, I'm not going to bother with this anymore, guys, right? I'm glad that someone like Luke Michael has, or someone like Luke has that option. But I think a lot of us who are millennials, who are doing regular jobs, who have invested a lot in education, getting degrees, we actually don't have that option, I feel. A majority of us don't. There might be unicorns, but I would say exception only proves the rule in such a case, right? It, while AI is gonna be, it's not gonna go anywhere. I do anticipate some sort of a dot-com situation where some sort of a bubble bursts, but the technology itself is here to stay, right? And this article also says, in the context of the older folks, it says AI is a big one. It disrupts their autonomy, their professionalism. Here is let me, yeah, this is Robert Laura, co-founder of the Retirement Coaches Association and an expert on the psychology of retirement. So she's talking about people who are closer to their retirement or traditional retirement stages. But I think AI affects everyone's autonomy to some extent, right? A lot of the clientele that shows up these days, they would, they're not going to be okay with just normal levels of support. They will pinpoint you for what the value is that you provide to them. No matter what type of a business you are in, you're going to be required to provide more value that is not available from the AI. There will be stories, there will be stories of failure, there will be stories that, oh, AI cannot do this really well. 7 out of 10 times it failed in doing that. But what are those 3 times where it did it correctly? Are those any of the services that you provide? Everyone's going to have to rethink their position. And to some extent, if you don't use AI in your jobs or in your daily life, you will be left behind. Even for this channel, for me to be able to talk to all of you twice a week, thrice a week, twice here and then try once with JD on Wasted Wanderers, we have to rely on AI. Yes, we are not completely giving you an AI related, it's not AI slop, but we definitely have to iterate faster. I can speak for JD as well on this. Like, both of us have professional careers outside of YouTube. We have a limited amount of time and we try to churn out meaningful content to all of you watching. And we have to do justice to your time as well. So how do we bridge that gap? As two people who have no time to edit, this was one of the biggest reasons we decided to move, pivot to the live format. But we still have to bring something meaningful to you. And for that, we have to use AI. Like, we use AI to generate our thumbnails. We use a little bit of AI to try and see, okay, what will be a good title? And then, tweak it so that it falls in line with the brand that we are trying to promote, right? So to some extent, all our autonomies are being hurt. But if you just flip that coin, maybe you have more options to iterate now, right? You can just ask a chatbot, give me 5 options I want to choose, right? Give me 10 options. I want to oh, make it more powerful, um, make it more impactful, have a more political tone to this, or keep it only to 100 words. You have an assistant that is doing that for you within seconds. So as long as you're just vetting their work, making sure that they're not hallucinating, making sure that it's not making up stuff, you can actually use this to your advantage as well. I think if you just change, just rotate the kaleidoscope 90 degrees, you will be able to see another side to AI. Let's go down a bit. So, in general, older Americans are less likely than younger counterparts to use AI, research shows. I don't think at this point a data point like this comes as a surprise. I do think that the older generation has had a lower adoption rate to AI than it had to, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, etc. I think AI as a technology ends up feeling a bit fuzzy, like you're just typing stuff up and you're getting answers. It almost feels like the material of extremely futuristic movies. So to try and engage with that, there is a learning curve to it. And beyond a certain point in life, once you are already, done with what I call all the middle class aims, like, I have my home paid off, my car is doing reasonably fine, and I could get one if I wanted, my kids have gone off to college, you just don't need to bother with it. But for everyone else, we have to bother with it, we have to learn it, we have to get used to it, figure it out, right? About 30% of people ages 30 to 49 said they use ChatGPT on the job, nearly double the share of those 50 and older. This is a 2025 Pew Research Center survey of 5,000 adults, right? Baby boomers and members of Gen X, let me put this here, guys. Yeah. Baby boomers and members of Gen X experience the sharpest declines in confidence. And it happens to I don't know if this only happens to members of Gen X or baby boomers. Sometimes when I'm having a conversation with someone much younger than me at work, maybe in their early 20s, mid 20s, they have lingo that I have no idea about. For me, the most the most current lingo I know is the word vibe. I can use vibe. There have been times when I'm like, oh God, what does that mean? And I'm at a loss, and then I remember, oh, 1991. That's what I'm used to thinking. I think a lot of it can be sort of forgiven, but I think there can be serious consequences as well. How do you keep up with the pace of technology to the point that all the experience that you have worked so hard to gain over 3 decades, 4 decades, basically does not mean much just because that LLM in front of you can literally give you an essay in seconds. All you have to do is read through it and decide what to keep and what not to keep, what's true versus what's sort of made up. Jennifer Kern's misgivings about AI contributed to her departure last month from GitHub. She was a GitHub employee. She is 60-year-old and worked as a program manager. Coming from a family of artists, she said it offends her that AI models train on creative work of people. So here's an individual who feels that all these AI models training on the creative work of everyone all over the world, it's wrong in a way. You have these video generating apps You have these sort of video generating models, uh, song generating models, that they are feeding in some form or the other, like parasites, on all the content that has been originally created by artists all over the world. Again, I want to try and rotate the kaleidoscope 90 degrees. I feel as more and more AI is utilized to generate art, be it images, YouTube video thumbnails, um, songs, paintings, videos, the value of human generated content will actually go up. Think about it this way: fast food showed up, fast food exists, but that doesn't mean fine dining went away. Fine diners still exist. Fancy restaurants, high end food, just because you get that experience. At least in the place I live, Vancouver, I would say there's a healthy mix of fast food restaurants and fine dining places, right? I don't think that the value of creativity will drop in any meaningful way, right? I think it's there to stay. In fact, even go up with time. At the end of the day, humans are social creatures. They want interaction with other fellow humans. And to that end, any form of service which allows you to interact with other human beings is not going to disappear that soon. Let's see, what else did I have for you guys? Okay. Now, in an AARP survey last summer of 5,000 people, 50 and over, 25% of those who plan to retire sooner than expected counted work stress and burnout as factors. About half of those retired said they left work at least partly because they had the financial security to do so. And I think this is where we, land up at the end of this whole topic of when can we finally decide to, engage with this change in a way that we don't have to feel stressed about it. Financial security, two words that are extremely pivotal to deciding how you interact with AI, right? Going back to what I had earlier, let me pull this up. Okay. Oh, come on. Okay, there we go. Let me pull this up again. The difference, the journey from frustration to decision, basically, the way I see this, lies in financial security. This is a bitter pill to swallow. I am in that age group where it's a spoonful. It tells me that till such point in my life, and I'll take a bold step, and for all of us millennials, Gen Zs, for all of us, the way we choose to interact with AI, our journey from frustration to decision lies in how we can utilize this technology to become financially independent. Either we already have it and then we can decide to not even interact with it. Heck, if everything in my life was completely paid off, I wouldn't even bother having an LLM. I wouldn't be bothered about looking up news on AI like I usually do on this channel and a lot of the times on Wasted Wanderers as well. Or, okay, I have loans. So, okay, how do I interact with AI that I become someone who is needed in the workforce? I would say the uh, conclusion here is that at this point there is no benefit to being in the frustration stage with AI. The faster we can get to the experimentation point, if we haven't already, the more advantageous it gets, right? I think we have heard a lot about, oh, get get trained in some skilled trades, uh, look for a creative career, because AI cannot quickly replace creativity just because humans are needed, like the point I was making earlier. There are two sides to every one of these arguments, but the bottom line is, if we adapt as fast as we can to use this technology to start building our own brands, we have a much higher chance of a comfortable survival. Not sure if that comes across as a positive or a negative end, but as I've always tried to do on this channel, I try not to think of things in a good or a bad way. I think the amount of energy that goes in deciding right or wrong, 8 out of 10 times, is it there are diminishing returns to that. There are some things that are objectively wrong, and then there are some things that are objectively correct. Helping out people, holding the door, all these things, giving up your seat on the bus uh, for someone to sit in instead of you, someone who probably needs it more than you. All these are definitely good things, and then obviously there are things that definitely fall in the bad bucket. Don't go rob a bank. Don't go, don't go hitting people or engaging in violence. Yes, there are some things that have a clear-cut distinction, but something like technology is only good or bad depending on who is wielding it. AI is here to stay, and for all of us, the majority globally, the only thing we can do is to just get comfortable with it. And that means, in some way or the other, to get comfortable with yourself. Accept it that you cannot think as far and wide as much as an LLM system. You just cannot. Okay, so where can you add value? Right? There will be a part of all your jobs where only a human can do it, even with all the brain, quote unquote, that an LLM brings. It still hallucinates even in writing code. That's why software engineers have not evaporated yet, because software engineers only do coding as one part of their jobs. They have to think about the whole. They have to think about their client. They have to think about whom they are supplying this product to. They have to think about a Jira board. They have to think about their boss. That's why they are still there. Likewise, think about all the different things that you do in your job that make up your job description. Go bullet by bullet and just decide, okay, AI makes this easier. AI cannot do this. Here is where I'm going to focus so that I become or I continue to remain valued. Anyways, guys, that's all for today. And yep, do like, share, and subscribe. Please have a thoughtful discussion in the comments, and yeah, spread the news far and wide. See you on Thursday. So we are going to move the Wasted Wanderers podcast to Thursday night, and those of you who see it live, you'll see it on Thursday itself. Thursday night Pacific time, so Friday morning India time, and then it gets released. YouTube takes about 12 to 13 hours to actually release the whole video if you don't watch it during the live. So you will get to see it Friday morning Pacific time or Friday night India time. All right, guys, till Thursday. See you guys.